So today I'm going to be talking about the backtesting framework that I've been working on for Ravn the past days, past week, and also get into more details about how you can actually use Ravn to also collect data and then run backtests on that data. So first I'm just going to explain to you like the big picture stuff with this diagram, how it works, and then after I'm going to show you exactly how it actually works in Ravn when you use these recordings and this backtest. So first off, you define a strategy, right, in Ravn, and then you define different data sources. So the way it would look like in Ravn is actually from here, you have these different data sources. In this case, we have a venue and we have a market selector. The venue is Polymarket, then the market selector here is the 5-minute up and down Bitcoin market. But of course, this could also be something else. Right now, this is what we have in Ravn. In the future, we're going to have something else. For example, the Bitcoin price. We'll have other venues such as, Kalshi, opinion, and whatnot. So this is basically what we define in our strategy. And if you remember, I talked about the event bus in Ravn. We have this event bus, which is the centralized part of the trading bot that handles all different kinds of events, from events coming from Polymarket, but also trade events. It can be user events. It can be whenever we emit something into the system, such as now an order has been filled. Maybe we want to cancel an order and stuff like that. So when we then run our bot in a session, we actually store data from the event bus as packet files. And this is stored in S3 because these files actually, well, it is a compressed file, but it's a lot of data that we get from Polymarket. And I'm going to show you how much it actually is because I've set up a few tests. But then it's going to be stored as packet files. When you run your simulation in Ravn, I'm going to show you after here how it actually looks like. Then it can actually store this packet files. Now, the interesting part here is that actually allows us to run the same strategy, not on the live data, but on the data that we collected. So if you want to do a small tweak in your strategy and test how would that actually have functioned on the same market, you can actually do so. Of course, you have to be a little bit cautious about this because there's a very high chance of overfitting if you use this data and then you modify your strategy to such an extent that, yeah, of course, it's going to be profitable on that data. But then when you run it on new and fresh data, it's not profitable anymore. And that is kind of what we call overfitting, right? So you have to be careful about that. But I still think that this is very viable, and you just have to be mindful about that. So when you have some kind of a strategy that you feel like, all right, this actually works well, then you can run a live simulation on fresh data and then see how does the bot perform. So that's kind of how it looks like on a sort of a big picture scale. And I'm going to show you how it actually works in Ravn. So I have my very simple strategy, which is a crossover strategy where I use the candlesticks. So I have the candlesticks here for up and down for the close price. And then when there's a crossover, I basically make a buy order and then I repeat it. So that's how the strategy looks like. It's probably not profitable, but this is just as an example. So the way it works is you can then select your strategy. So let's say I do this crossover strategy. And then I can select the market data that actually, in this case, is going to record the full fidelity of the market data. And that's actually going to be a lot of data, and I'm going to show you how much that actually is. So then I can click deploy bot. You can see here in Docker, I have a container spinning up. And this is basically all the logs coming in, and then I can monitor. This is mostly for bug fixing. That's why we have so many logs. And you can see here now, it's recording data. You can see recorded 1000 events, and that's actually just going to keep going as long as this bot is up and running. And we have 2000 events. We got one trade here rejected from the risk config, but this is not related to what we're talking about right now. And then we have 3000 events. And then what actually happens is, because since it's a lot of events, it's actually a lot of data. that we are storing. And again, this is storing at packet files, but even though it's kind of efficient files, it's still a lot of data that is getting backed up. And I'm storing this in S3. I'm gonna show you how that looks like. In this bucket here, I have the chunk. So every minute, it's actually getting backed up to S3. And I might change this when we actually go into production. I have to kind of monitor how much people are using this feature. And most likely, I'm gonna back it up less frequently. So this is more just for for testing and to show how this actually works. So you can see how we still have one chunk, but then every minute it's going to back it up. Now we have 12,000 events already coming in, 13,000. So again, it's a lot of events for these active markets, which this bot right now is subscribed to. So you can see how now after refresh, we have another chunk. So this one, the first one is 700 kilobyte, and then we have 800 kilobytes. And actually, my experience is it's often more than this. So if I go back to some of my recordings here, so let's say this one here, which was a session I had just before, it's 1.2, 1.5 megabyte, 1.7. If I go back, so this one here, it's one, so this is one that ran for, 15, 20 minutes. You can see here it's 1.1 megabyte, 1.6, 2.2 megabyte, and so on. So a lot of data, and yeah, so this is currently being backed up to S3, and most likely I will be changing these chunks because right now it will be streaming to the backtest that I'm going to show you exactly how that works. So let's stop the bot here for now, and then I'm going to show you how that backtest actually works. So when I stop the bot, it actually keeps the session data. So if you go over to your monitor in your trading bot, you can see here, that's the session that we just ran, okay? And right now it only subscribes to 2 different markets, but then you can actually go back to your session. You can see exactly how did it perform on the different markets. So now if I go back to, let's say I go back to my strategy, my crossover strategy, and then I can go over and change some kind of a parameter. Let's say I do less than or whatever, or just change any parameter, something. Maybe you have a good idea about how things could have been different. Then you can do that, and you can go over to the simulations. Now you can see I already ran a few simulations, and you can do a new backtest. Now it's gonna record both the backtest but also simulation. So what we just did before was a live simulation. But if you want to do a backtest, you can do it from here. You can click backtest, and then you can select your strategy. In my case, I'm going to do the crossover, and then you can select the recording. And now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different recordings. And I need to make a way to make this a little bit more easy to understand, because now it just uses the hash, but I'll change that. So you can see how many events it has. So this one has 33,000 events. Let's select that, and you can change different parameters of the backtest. For example, initial balance, fill rate, and so on and so forth. Then I can run backtest. Now, again, what happens then is it spins up another container. It works more or less the same way as a real life, simulation. And now it just streams the data. It gets the data from, and now you can see it's done. It then gets all the data from S3 and then runs through it, and then returns the results. Now you can see here that it's now done. So we had the strategy, the crossover strategy of the type backtest. So that's what we just did now, right? I can then click into it and see my my different parameters. I see that actually did one trade here, one buy trade at this size and this price with a P&L of 5 cents. So not the best return. And there's some other metrics such as maximum drawdown and Sharpe ratio, profit factor, win rate, so on and so forth. So this is kind of the idea behind, recording data and doing the back tests. And still a few things that I need to, actually, there's many things I need to tweak still. to make this polished, but I think this is going to be an integral part of actually building strategies on Ravn. And because, you know, you have an idea about a strategy, you run it, maybe some past data. I'm going to make some data available for some markets. You can run it on that. Then you can record your own data. Maybe you have a very specific idea for a market in mind, which you can't find any public data about. In that case, you can actually set up a bot, record the data for that specific market, and then you can run backtests on it. So that's kind of the idea behind all of this. Now, since it's so much data we are talking about, I will not keep the data forever. So you will have the option to actually download the data yourself. So when you do these recordings, you will be able to download it. You can see here. So you can download the data, the session data for the recordings, and then you can actually upload it later. So if you, let's say that some of the sessions expires, that means that actually it will be removed from the from S3 just to save space. You can then actually take a backup, keep it locally, and then you can upload it later if you want to run it again. So you have access to that data. Also, if you want to take the data, run it through your own programs, your own backtesting software, you can also do that. So the data will be available for you to download. Yeah, so if you are interested in joining the waitlist of Ravn, which hopefully is launching very soon, you can do so at ravn.gg, and you can then click the button here and you will get scrolled down into the bottom here, and you can input your email, and then you can actually get early access to Ravn when it launches. We also have the Polytraders Discord community. So this is a community for, you know, traders, people building trading bots on prediction markets. We are more than 1,000 members now. So yeah, we are 1,600 verified members. A lot of activity and a lot of good alpha going around in the Discord here. So I would highly suggest you to join Polytraders. It's a free to join community where you can get input and insights on building trading bots. So I'm gonna make sure to leave a link both to the Discord and to Ravn if you want to sign up for the waitlist. So all of that is in the description below. So with that said, see you till the next time. Have a good day and bye.